Hello, pilots, and welcome back for another episode of Royal Simulations and Flight Sim for Dummies. And today we are going to show you the cold and dark start for the Cessna 208 Caravan for Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Grab yourself an Oreo cookie. Let's get this bird up in the air. Again, I'm Coaster Royalty for Royal Simulations, and this is Flight Sim for Dummies. Hello pilots, and welcome back for another cold and dark start tutorial here in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'm Coaster Royalty, your instructor for Royal Simulations, and today, as you can see here on the tarmac, we are at the beautiful Key West Airport. And we're going to be flying for FedEx and the FedEx feeder, and probably one of my favorite general aviation planes to fly here in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, and that is the Cessna 208. Now, obviously, this plane is used a ton for sightseeing tours. It's used a lot to go from, like, say, the Bahamas to Miami, here to Key West. You see this plane a lot because it does carry passengers. It also, as you can see here, does do quite a bit of cargo runs as well as short cargo runs back and forth between cities, maybe in the mountains or places where you wouldn't see a huge 747 go. But like I said, I absolutely love this plane. But before we get in to actually starting it up from the cold and dark state, I want to make sure that you guys grab the mod that I think is definitely extremely important for this plane. Don't get me wrong, the plane is fine if you're going to fly this plane without it, but I think the mod just does it such justice. And if you pair that with the NXI, aviation equipment that you can get here from the simulator, I think this plane flies absolutely fabulous. And so as we'll do that, then I want to make you aware to go ahead and you're going to head over here to Flight Sim TO, and what you're going to do is you're going to see at Flight Sim TO, and I will have the link to this mod down in the comment section there below. And when you go to flightsim.to, you can either click my link in the comments or you can search it up. It's the Cessna 208B Grand Caravan EX Improvement Mod. And here is where you're going to want to download this mod. Obviously, if you're not, used to going to this place to find mods, there's thousands upon thousands of great applications and liveries and even planes that you can download for free here at Flight Sim TO. Obviously, you just kind of sign up for an account and everything's free. And then you'll come down here to this green download button, and you'll be able to download that. And then this is easily drag and drop into your community folder. But you can see here, I'm not going to go through all the stuff in this actual mod that it does enhance, but it's things like corrected different values, reverse thrust is strengthened. One of my favorites, the ground handling. I know this plane was very difficult to handle on the ground while taxiing without this mod, and you'll notice that big difference if you fly the original. But one of the biggest things is the electrical system, and I noticed that early on in this plane where there were some issues with starting it up or leaving it on too long before you actually started the engine up, and then it would die. So they kind of fixed some of those things here with this mod, and I think it's absolutely fantastic. And when you guys get this plane up in the air with this mod, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So we'll go ahead back into the cockpit, guys. We'll get this thing all started up, and we're going to begin with the pre-flight status. And now that you have installed the C208 mod and you have placed that into your community folder, it is now time to start the tutorial of the cold and dark state, starting this plane up here at the Key West Airport. So let's start. We're going to get into the cockpit now as we get into the plane. Obviously, before you would get into the plane, you would go, do your walk around that you would do for any plane. Obviously, we don't really need to do that here in the simulators. We're going to go ahead and jump into the cockpit real quick. The first thing that I like to do is go ahead and get rid of the yokes. If you like to have them, that's fine, but I do like those to be out of my way. All right, so the first step with the pre-flight or the pre-engine starting flow, I guess I should say, is to go to the top of the plane here above you, where you would normally, in a bigger plane, see all kinds of buttons. But up here, you're only going to see one thing that you need to do, and that are these two handles that you see here, these tan handles at the top. These are your engine flows, okay? So this is your turning on and off your engine tanks. We're going to go ahead and click both of those to the on position. So you'll take the left one, you'll click it, and you'll click the one to the right as well, and now you will have fuel flow when you try to start the engine. All right, we'll come back to the center now, and from here, I'm going to head down to the electrical panel. We're going to go ahead and get this thing all ready and started up. But before we do, a couple things we want to make sure of. Number one, we want to make sure that the ignition panel, this is the center button here with the 3, we want to make sure that that is in the normal position, and it is. We want to make sure that everything else is in the off position, and you'll notice that all 3 things are in the off position. We'll be coming back to this in just a second. But from here, we want to go down here and make sure of a couple things. Number one, we want to make sure that our power lever is in the idle position. That's the black one that you see here. And then we want to make sure that the blue prop is all the way in the max RPM position. So we're going to move that all the way up to the max position. All right, just like that. And what I like to do from here as well is go ahead and take your red button here. And we're going to go ahead and push that one up as well. And I like to go all the way to the top to start this plane as well. I know that's kind of not what you're supposed to do, but I will forget later on, and I just like to go ahead and get it up to the top. Again, this is kind of a, just a basic tutorial for those who want to get this plane up in the air. We're not going to do anything advanced. We're not going to do anything by the book per se. But this is just to kind of get everybody started and going. And that's just kind of the way I want to get this plane set up and started to go. All right, so those are the things you have to do before the engine start. And step number 2, we'll get ready for, which is the actual engine starting. All right, and now we are ready for, one, to get the plane turned on and get electric to the plane, but also get ready for the engine start, which is obviously what we're all here to do so that we're able to get this plane up in the air. So first, we're going to start with the button here at the top, and that is your battery button. We're going to go ahead and take that, and you're going to want to click that to the forward on position. Go ahead and make sure to do that. At the same time, we're going to come down here and turn on the avionics. We're going to turn on avionics number 1. We're going to turn on avionics number 2. If we come back to the center now, you will notice that electric has come to the plane. We'll come back over here and finish up today's tutorial with putting the flight plan and things into the actual avionics package. But for now, we'll go back down here and let's go ahead and get this plane up and started so that we can get this plane going off the runway. So from there, what we want to do, if we want to come over here to the generator, we want to make sure that we go ahead and reset it and put it to the on position. We're going to go ahead and turn the standby alternator power on as well. That's the button there to the left. It's right below this little orange light. And now we have one thing left to do, and that is to get the fuel boost on. We want to take the fuel boost. That's the second button right here. We're going to push that all the way to the on position. That's going to give us some fuel boost. We want that to stay in the on position until after we start the engine. From there, we want to come over here to the ignition. You'll notice that it's in the normal state. We want it to go all the way up to the on state. So we push the ignition button all the way to the front. And from here, guys, it is now time to start the plane. So in real life, you kind of yell out the window. All right, come back to the center here, and you would kind of yell clear prop. We're going to come down back here to the starter area, and you're going to go ahead and push that starter up to the top. You'll hear a little ding in the background. And if we come back to the center here, you will see that the engine will begin to spool up and the propeller will begin to spin. And so as that gets moving up a little bit, And as you hear that going, you do want to come down to the center console area. You want to move your lever up to about 1500 RPM. And of course, you can do that by looking at the center console panel PFD here. And you can see here that your torque is rising, your ITT is rising, your NGs are rising, and there's the prop RPM. And obviously, like I said, you want to get that up to about 1500 RPM. So you can see that it stopped at 800. So we're going to move that up just a little bit more. And then we're going to move it back down to about 1000 RPM. So we're going to move it up to about 1500. Make sure we have good engine start. We'll stop at 1200 today. You can hear that we do have good engine start there, so we'll kind of bring it back down just a hair. That'll work. And now that we have good engine start, we want to make sure to come over and do a couple more things to kind of clean up this area after the start. Number one, we're going to take the fuel boost back to normal. You're going to take the ignition back to normal as well. Once you have a good start, go ahead and turn the starter back to the off position. You'll notice that it says the generators are off, and that's because we don't have them on yet. And we'll get those turned on in just a second. And now the final steps for the cold and dark start. We have done the pre-flight. We've done the engine start here of the Cessna 208 Caravan. And now we finish with putting the actual information into the PFD. And so we're talking about your flight information. And so we'll go ahead and do that and let you guys know that we are taking a flight here from Key West in Florida up to Miami, Florida. It's about an hour flight here in the Caravan. And so we'll go ahead and show you the actual information on the chart. As you guys can see here, we are headed to Miami. And one of the things you'll want to do before you get in and start your engine up, obviously, is do your fuel and those types of things. I didn't show that in this tutorial because, again, this is more or less just a startup tutorial. But you'll want to take your payload and your fuel, and you'll want to put that into your plane before you get it up and started. But what we're going to take a look at, obviously, is right here on the operational flight plan, and that is the OFP route. You'll notice that it's wanting us to go at 7,000 feet. We're going to take off of runway 9. We're going to go direct to Carnu, and then we're going to be on the Duval 3 arrival into Miami. So let's go down to the actual PFD in the plane. And now that we're back here in the cockpit, we can take a look at the PFD, the area where we're going to put in the flight plan that we just saw in our chart. And to start, we want to come over here to the right side panel, and we're going to click on Flight Plan, the FPL button. And from here, you'll see your active flight plan. You'll notice that I've already put in Key West and K Miami. That does that from the Microsoft Flight Sim map. If you kind of put in your departure and arrival runway, that will already be placed in there for you. So what we want to do is we want to go to the en route section. And remember, we want to use Carnu because that was the one waypoint that we are going to utilize for this flight. So to do that, you're going to come down here to the FMS knob. You're going to click on the center knob. And then you're going to use the inner dial to go up to where the blank line is. And from there, you're going to come down to the first knob, the outer knob, as I like to call it. And you're going to click that to the right, and it's going to bring up the waypoint information. Here's where you're going to want to put in Carnu. And so using the outer knob, you're going to go down to the letter C, then the letter A, and use the inner knob. One click to the right will get you to the next space. And then we're going to go to R. And then N. And then I like to go backwards to U. And then now you'll hit the Enter button. That's the ENT button right here. You'll click that, and you'll notice now that the route is the way it looked like it was in the flight plan that I showed you. From here now, you remember it wants us to go on the Duval 3 arrival. And to do that, you want to come over here to the Procedure button, PROC. You're You're going to use the inner knob to go down to select arrival. You're going to click enter. You're going to find the Deval 3. You'll see it there using the inner knob. Go down to you see Deval 3, and then you're going to click the enter button. You'll remember that it did say that we were going to be landing on 08 right. So we'll go ahead and put 08 right in, click enter, and then the transition, which is the Deval transition. And we'll click all the way down to load, and we'll load that in. You'll notice now that it brings up your active flight plan with your en route waypoints as well as your arrival. Obviously, if you're flying on ATC and they give you a different arrival, or if they give you a direct to or anything like that, you would have to follow that. We are not going to be doing that here in this tutorial, as this is just a start kind of from the cold and dark area. But I did want to allow you guys to see how I place the flight plan into the NXI, which is this beautiful G1000 mod that you can download from the marketplace for free and keep it updated. It is definitely great for your general aviation planes. One final thing to do here before we get going, and that is to put in the altimeter. I like to hit the B button, but you can do that through your ATIS, and you can obviously do that here through your barometer buttons as well. And obviously, you want to get yourself ready for takeoff and all of that. And to do that, altitude select. Remember, it wants us to go to 7,000. So right here in the center, you'll see the altitude selector knob, and we're going to take that all the way up to 7,000 because we are not going off any standard departure here today. And so we can go all the way up to our 7,000. You can click it up. You can just hold down your mouse button until you get to 7,000. And then we are ready to go. So there we go. There you have it, guys. The cold and dark start tutorial for the Cessna Caravan 208. If you like what you saw, leave a comment below. Make sure you smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell so that you know when I drop more videos here on the channel.